that weighs 400 pounds, and he's got on leather, you know, and big sharp metal things, man, and swastikas and all that stuff, I know for sure that I don't want to fuck with that guy, man.
I think
you know what I mean?
You're absolutely right.
And that's cool, because that's telling me who he is, you know what I mean? And I have the choice of, I'm either going to go in there and make a fool of myself, or else I'm going to be very cool. And if that's what's happening, I'll be cool, you know. But shit, is that out front or what, you know?
Are you afraid of them ever?
Sure. Sure.
Why?
Because they're scary, man. You know, they're all big, you know, and strong and good and
The most talked about names in music news have been Prince, Michael Jackson, and Bruce Springsteen. But nowhere in the news is rock and roll's biggest little cult band, the Grateful Dead. Next month, the Dead will celebrate their 20th anniversary together, despite a lack of recognition on radio or in the press. Today, Bobby Colomby has part one of our special report on an American music phenomenon known as the Grateful Dead.
Even a boss or a prince has an established music industry policy to follow for success. Saturate record stores with albums, put out singles off the album to get radio airplay, pump up sales by doing a music video, then bring in millions of dollars extra with a concert tour. Throw in some fancy footwork, spectacular sets, and you have them coming back for more, right?
we've never cozied up to the music business, you know what I mean? We've always been kind of in this world of our own.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in, keep trucking, like the doodah man together.
Welcome to the world of the Grateful Dead. Don't expect Jerry Garcia to do a moonwalk. You'll never see Bob Weir in sequence, and check out the set, or lack of it. Since the acid rock Haight-Ashbury days of the late 60s, the Dead Band has been doing just about everything wrong. And guess what? They've outlasted just about everybody else.
They rarely release albums. The last records came out 4 or 5 years ago.
For whatever reason, they haven't seen fit to release any videos to us, and the second we get one, we'll play it.
They haven't, quote-unquote, sold out.
An Entertainment Tonight survey of the top 28 stations in New York in March showed that only one station played Grateful Dead music 6 times. Of the top 31 stations in Los Angeles, the Dead did even worse as far as airplay. One spin on one station in 7 days.
It's non-existent as far as current records go because there aren't any current records.
They haven't put out a record in 5 years, they don't have a video, they don't get much airplay. So what are all these people doing here? This is what it's all about. The Grateful Dead turn into a magic act on stage for their loyal Deadhead followers. They are a live band, a dance band, and a sing-along band.
We play real loose. We play improvisational, highly intuitive music, and, you know, we're not afraid to take a chance.
Yeah, it used to be in the old days that we would either have a magical show or else it would be just awful, you know? In the meantime, though, we've learned to be sort of competent.
It's not a predictable set show. There's no way of knowing exactly what they're going to do on any given night.
Keyboard player Brent Midland found that out the first night he joined the band.
We got out right before we went on stage. I said, what are we going to do? I don't know what we're going to do. Just follow along. It's been like that ever since.
Not all music critics are happy with the Grateful Dead. One claims there's more to their string of sold-out concerts than meets the ear.
I think it's the drugs. What else could it be?
On the night of the opening concert in March at Nassau Coliseum, Long Island, there were 63 drug arrests. Garcia himself is on probation and in a rehabilitation program for possession of drugs in San Francisco. Deadheads packed the courtroom, volunteered to serve Garcia's sentence, and even the officers in the court asked for his autograph.
This district attorney his mind was blown. You know, he'd never seen anything like this before, ever.
Despite the drug busts and the disc flops at matching their concert excitement, almost incredibly, the long, strange trip goes on.
It feels good, and we have nothing better to do with our time.
It's a flight band. You get to go on flights with the band. Or it's like you go around the country and you test out different roller coasters. We give them a good ride.
That roller coaster ride is the main attraction at this traveling carnival, but there are many interesting sideshows as well. Tomorrow,
Report on the musical phenomenon, the Grateful Dead, Bobby Colomby reported they're still going strong after 20 years. Why? Because of tens of thousands of loyal fans known as the Deadheads.
By the time that we go to Woodstock, we were 500,000 strong.
Remember hippies and real long hair and Max Yasgur's farm where the flower children gathered to hear groups like the Grateful Dead? Well, if you can't remember back to 1969, here's a present-day reminder. The scene at any current concert by those Woodstock survivors, the Grateful Dead. The tents, the campfires, the tie-dyed shirts, the painted faces, the pot, the booze, and the partying. Now you know why it's been said that the fans are in a 60s time warp. Actually, many of them were not even born when the Dead first came to life 20 years ago.
It makes you happy.
Yeah, it's like nothing else.
It's great times here.
What about the Grateful Dead turns you on?
Everything, the people, the music, the whole bit.
It's hip to go see the Dead, and it probably will be when they're staggering around 20 years from now.
There's nothing else like it in American show business.
They are called Deadheads. They will travel a continent to see a band they consider magical, spiritual. And just as Deadheads come out from everywhere for a concert tour, they can be anyone.
You know, they're like snowflakes. They're quite a few different kinds.
I'm a Catholic priest.
And you're a fan of the Grateful Dead?
Yes, that too. I'm also what you could call a Deadhead.
The Deadheads are interesting. You know, they don't categorize too easily.
I think a lot of our younger friends here may be a little surprised that, you know, we're even here in the first place. But some things never die. When you guys get to be old like us, you'll still be into the Dead. Take my word.
The fans are a lot like the band. Kind of low-key. Make that very low-key. Even seconds before a concert begins. But once the lights go down and the band goes on, something happens that can't be described, and so far, can't be put on record.
We're not that great in the studio. We can pull it off, kind of, but, you know, it isn't all that much fun for us.
This is where the fun is. The Dead love it live, and they can go 6 concerts before repeating a song. But some critics complain that they are below average musically.
I mean, I actually think that they're probably the worst famous band ever.
But Marsh would have a hard time convincing the Deadheads, whose numbers are increasing.
We have over 100,000 on our mailing list, and we get about 600, 700 letters a month, and they're all new Deadheads.
They are doing it exactly right. There is no one that has lasted this long without having been superstars.
They could last forever. Jerry Garcia stays out of jail.
Why do you think you've been able to survive?
I haven't the foggiest idea.
After 20 years and more than 1,700 concerts, the Grateful Dead say they're just beginning. Bobby Colombi, Entertainment Tonight.
Stick around for the next 20.
And stick around for another minute.
What do you think of? Thousands of screaming fans, auditoriums packed to the rafters, long ticket lines. Well, back in 1965, an obscure band born of the hippie generation made a name for itself right here in Speedway Meadows. It was the first of many free concerts held in Golden Gate Park. And today, 20 years later, the Grateful Dead are still alive and well. No band in America has kept them dancing longer than the Bay Area's own Grateful Dead. Since 1965, they performed at over 2,000 concerts for an estimated 20 million people. Yet in the music business, they are an anomaly. They've recorded over 17 albums, but never had a hit single. They're one of the world's most successful touring bands, but have always been out of the rock mainstream. To many, the Grateful Dead are an anachronism, a psychedelic relic from the 60s. But to their devoted fans, many of whom were only infants then, they are the most unique, most original band around. It's been 20 years since 5 guys decided to make music together in Palo Alto. There was the unofficial leader, Jerome John Garcia, a high school dropout from San Francisco who played very respectable bluegrass banjo. Robert Hall Weir from Atherton, the youngest of the group, he played rhythm guitar. William Kreutzmann, a rock and roll drummer. Philip Chapman Lesh, a classically trained musician who played bass guitar. And Ronald McKernan from San Bruno, nicknamed Pigpen. He had a passion for singing the blues and playing harmonica. They called themselves the Warlocks and played the bars on the peninsula. Then hooked up with Ken Kesey and his Merry Pranksters, taking part in the LSD-induced happenings, the now legendary acid test.
What was it like? It was the most fun you could possibly have on Earth in life. It was a fantastic thing to be able to participate in because it was a chance to try anything, and we were not famous, you know, we were just a bunch of guys playing music, you know, playing instruments. There was no form, really.
This free-form musical expression set Garcia and group off on a golden road that led them to a rundown Victorian on Ashbury Street in the heart of the Haight. It was a time of idealism and acid, free speech and free love, all driven by the pulsing beat of a new sound. Percussionist Mickey Hart joined the band just months after this free concert in the Panhandle was filmed.
This is a dance band. That's what Grateful Dead is all about. It's really for dancing. What you're seeing there is a bunch of people dancing to the Grateful Dead. And they're also experiencing an otherworldliness. They're able to transport themselves to an other reality.
A hallucinatory reality where time and space merged into one. The music was the heartbeat of this cultural explosion, and at the vortex was the Grateful Dead. Throughout the 60s, they played all the rock ballrooms and gave free concerts. Although they had no overt political message, their philosophy was no secret.
I think, personally, that the more people turn on, the better world it's going to be.
Experimentation with marijuana and LSD led to a highly publicized bust, which only seemed to solidify their status as counterculture heroes. But their name alone ensured their notoriety, conjuring up the now famous Skeletons, which have come to represent the band. Although the Dead have recorded extensively, few of their albums have ever captured the sheer energy of their live performances. A Dead concert is a greatly anticipated event, more like a tribal gathering than a musical performance. There are Deadheads who follow the band around the country, supporting themselves by good old American enterprise.
Want to buy a tie-dye?
Others are avid collectors, like 33-year-old attorney Karen Kramer, who moved from New Hampshire in 1978.
The Dead just didn't come to that part of the country all that much in those days, and it was really hard to get to see them. And I realized that it was the most fun thing that I was doing, and I wanted to do more of it. So one day I packed up the car and came to San Francisco.
At a Dead concert, the fans are as important as the stars, all actors in the Magic Theater, where you only need a T-shirt and a ticket to be on stage.
When you have a good audience, how could you disappoint them? How could you dare to not deliver all you had for all those people who stand in the snow for 5 hours to wait for a ticket? That's serious business.
The Dead communicate with the people.
I love the Grateful Dead because they get me high.
If you don't lay them
I keep asking myself why I'm here, as a matter of fact, and yet I keep coming back.
If it feels good, do it.
The spell that they cast on everybody. If you go to a Grateful Dead concert, you'll remember it. It's great.
The hottest ticket of the year and an annual Bay Area event is the New Year's Eve concert. Just before midnight, rock impresario Bill Graham descends to the stage to kick off the festivities. mercurial world of rock, it's nothing short of amazing that the Grateful Dead are still alive and playing after 20 years. It's a tribute to their vitality and vision that they continue to convert a new generation of faithful Deadheads.
Coming up next,
the community of Atherton near Palo Alto. Now, lots for homes here must be at least 1 acre in size, and traditional values reign supreme. So it's hard to believe that this bastion of the American dream, in fact, this very block where I'm standing, is the home neighborhood of a founder of a major 1960s counterculture psychedelic band. A band that's played together now for 20 years, the Grateful Dead.
Bob Weir has been writing songs, playing rhythm guitar, and rocking with the Grateful Dead since 1965, when he was only 17 years old. His parents tried everything to get him to do something else with his life.
They tried reason, that didn't work. They tried pleading, that didn't work. But basically, they saw me going to hell in a bucket, and there was about nothing they could do.
Remember how hard Mother used to try to make you a banker or a lawyer or, you know, businessman?
Something
right?
responsible.
All the schools you went to?
Yeah.
Right. That's where he gets all of his persistence in doing what he does with the Grateful Dead. He inherited it. Except he won.
Bob won his battle to stay in the band, and his parents eventually numbered among his most devoted supporters. Meanwhile, the Dead moved to the forefront of the acid rock music of the hippie era. And while other groups have been radically altered or dissolved, the Dead have remained relatively intact ever since. But what about Bob? Has he changed over the years?
Let's see. He's still cute.
I'm actually about a quarter-inch taller, I think.
Yeah. Still has this wonderful air of innocence. Yeah. I love him. Mwah.
Because we have no set plan, we play from moment to moment and try to let the show evolve as it will. And it puts a spirit of adventure into it. It gives us more spontaneity.
Spontaneity, enjoying good times, and a generally positive outlook on life are perhaps the essence of the Grateful Dead. Music is the focus, and although the band has never had a hit single, and it gets little or no play on radio, devoted fans called Deadheads travel across the country to enjoy the unique blend of musical styles offered by Bob, Jerry Garcia, and the rest of the band.
I came from Flagstaff, Arizona.
600 to 700 miles from Olympia, Washington.
I've seen it maybe close to 100 times now.
I like the dancing and the people. Everyone is so nice to each other.
And that's why it's nice to dance and sway and kind of feel one with the people and your friends and your loved ones. And all these things have a way of creating a form of community that isn't your normal rock and roll somehow.
The most overlooked thing about the Grateful Dead is their musical content and the fact that they're interdisciplinary. Many, many different kinds of music influence the members of the band.
However, other critics feel that another factor that's overlooked at the concerts is the use of drugs.
What we're about is music. We're not about drugs. Our primary thrust is in the direction of expressing ourselves and our art through music and not partying down and taking drugs.
The name of the band itself evokes bizarre images for many people, but it actually refers to a type of folk tale in which the hero spends his last penny to pay a dead man's debts, and later in return has his own life saved by the dead man's ghost. In similar spirit, the Grateful Dead give many benefit concerts each year, and as an individual, Bob also supports a number of charities. He recently gave his first solo acoustic guitar performance for a benefit for SIVA, which works to prevent blindness in India.
There's a few down here we can't forget. It hasn't got a name just yet. Always awake, always ashes all fall down. Ashes, ashes all fall down.
I think it would be good if we took the money that we're putting into weapons and put it into long-range, well-conceived programs for reforesting the Sahara Desert, for instance, or any innumerable problems that we have that affect the quality of life on the planet. Yes, I think that could be done to divert the flow of money that goes into nuclear armament and death machines and things like that, and put it back into life.
If the game is lost, then we're all the same. No one left, please to take the blame. Will we leave this place an empty stone? Or that shining ball we can call our home? So the kids, they dance, they shake their bones, and the politicians throwing stones, singing ashes, ashes all fall down. Ashes, ashes all fall down.
Bob, could you imagine if I were to see you 20 years from now that you'd still be performing and that the Dead would still be performing?
Not long ago, I went and saw the Count Basie Band. There were a bunch of old guys in their 80s. They swung like angels. It really seems worth doing to me. I mean, I would love to be 80 years old and able to play that well, and make people happy and play great music.
On the occasion of the Dead's 20th anniversary, is there anything that you would like to say? Any nugget of wisdom for all these years?
Please enjoy.
And Channel 7's Frank Crocker is here with part one of the Dead phenomenon that began right in this town. Frank?
Suzanne, phenomenon is the perfect word to use when you're talking about this band. It all started in Palo Alto. An obscure group called the Warlocks played dingy little clubs there. And who could have possibly known then that their unusual sound would evolve and maintain and become